last class where we left? Any one of you?
Ma'am, we were discussing section 215 and 216, agent's duty to avoid conflict of interest.
Okay. So today we are moving with further duties of an agent. Another duty which is here for an agent is duty not to make secret profit. So another aspect of this principle and relationship is what? That this is a duty of an agent not to make any secret profit in the business of agency. So his relationship with principal is of a fiduciary nature, as I told you earlier, and he is here required to act absolutely in good faith in conduct of agency. So the very first question here arises that what is meant by the secret profit? What is the meaning of the secret profit? Secret profit means any advantage obtained by agent over and above his agreed remuneration and which he would not have been able to make but for his position as an agent. So this is a duty of agent not to take advantage of his position as an agent if something for which he would not have been otherwise allowed or able to collect or to get, and he is keeping that amount, that money, that thing with him, then it will be what he is taking disadvantage of his position of agency, and he is not bound, he is bound not to keep any secret profit with him. So any acceptance of bribe is a profit of this kind, and any such kind of the thing which you are supposed to share, which you are supposed to inform, which you are supposed to hand over to your principal as a profit, there if you are doing any kind of the negligency or intentionally dishonestly if you are doing the same thing, then it will be not allowed, it will be illegal. So I am giving you an example. A principal agreed to buy horses from a dealer provided that his veterinary surgeon would pass them as sound. Right? A principal agreed to buy horses from a dealer provided that his veterinary surgeon would pass them as sound. The seller bribed the surgeon, obtained his certificate, and horses turned out to be unsound. Here, the principal is justified in rejecting them and counter making responsible the doctor on whom he shows his interest, to whom he appointed as his agent to check whether the horses are of sound mind or not. So if somewhere the agent is having any knowledge, agent acquired any knowledge, right, in the course of the business of agency, which he is supposed to inform or to convey to his principal, and if he is not doing that, then it will be amounting to what? Keeping the secrets, which is not allowed. And due to that secret, if he is earning any benefit, any profit, then he will be liable. So this is a general duty.
This is a general duty. It has not been mentioned in any section.
Right.
So where are we getting this definition of secret profit from?
I'm giving you the reference. I have for time being I have taken the reference of Avtar Singh book, and this is defined by the judges in various case laws.
Okay, but it is not. It has not been mentioned in any section.
Yes. If you are interested to write down, then I can give you the citation of one case at present. One of the English case, Harren Broughton versus Victoria Graving Dog Company, 1878. If you remember, I will write it in the chat box. Moreover, if you remember your first duty, which I mentioned you, that was duty to execute the mandate, which is a general duty of every agent to always execute the mandate of the principal, that is also not required to be specifically expressly mentioned in your bare act. So that was a general duty, implied general duty, and here the duty which we are going to discuss, that is also implied general duty. And let me tell you the basic source of it. It is what? It is a duty based upon the fiduciary relationship. Whenever we are talking about fiduciary relationship, because agent and principal relationship will always be a fiduciary relationship, and based upon equity, an agent is always bound to disclose everything which is relevant for a principal, right? And if he is somewhere able manage to have some secret profits based upon some secret information, then also he is bound to inform that. And moreover, if you remember your section 215 to 16, from there also you can confer this, you can get this duty as impliedly. If you remember, I gave you an example that if suppose I asked you to purchase the land for me, and later on you come to know about it, to sell one of my land, and I appointed you as my agent to sell that land. Later on you come to know about that there is some treasure, there is some mine under the land, and you wanted to keep it secret from the principal because it may increase the cost for that land. And what you did, you anyhow managed to purchase the land yourself without disclosing the fact of the mine, without disclosing the fact of the treasure to the principal. Then you are doing what? First of all, you are breaking your fiduciary relationship towards the duty towards the principal, that you are not disclosing the material fact relating to the deal or relating to the act for which has been assigned to you. And at same time, if you are making some money out of it, the heading which I gave you, it is just solely meant for covering up that you kept a secret, and by that secret you are having some secret profit, then this is your duty to not to make any secret profit. So there was not need to repeat again expressly. It is an implied interpretation of your section 215 plus section 216, plus it is implied interpretation of your fiduciary relationship. Along with that, it is based upon equity. Moreover, I want to give you one of the English case as an example. Just a minute. And that is, actually I'm writing in your... So Dinesh, I was just addressing your question. Let me just explain you on the very first hand the duty which I am going to discuss with you, that duty not to make secret profit. This is on the very first hand duty based upon the fiduciary relationship, right? Second, it is based upon your equity and justice. Third, as it was asked by one of the students that ma'am, it is in which section it can be covered. So it is what I tried to interpret, that if you are looking for any section in your Indian Contract Act to which you can relate, then there can be extended interpretation in your section 15 and 16, where you are bound not to keep any secret, right? Like you are purchasing yourself for something. So this is just you can relate somewhere, you can find similar provision in your Indian Contract Act somehow, that is section 15 and 16, and please correct yourself, it is not expressly mentioned in your Indian Contract Act. I hope, Dinesh, I have answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Is there any other question relating to it, or should I move on?
You can move ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So the point which is here, that the secret duty which is here, knowledge. So I was concentrating on the concept of the knowledge. If somewhere an agent acquire any knowledge during the course of the business of the agency, and he converts that to get advantage himself, right, to get advantage for himself, then it will be his duty. He will be responsible towards the principal. And let me tell you, everything is based upon one of the basic aspects, that this is the agent's duty to be honest to his principal always. It is necessary. Agent should not, keep any kind of the secret with him. And if there is any confidential information received by him from his principal, at same time he should not disclose that. Please mark my words. In one sentence, I'm just telling you two different duties. One, don't keep any information, relevant information which you got during the course of the business of agency, right? One thing, you are bound to disclose it to the principal. Second thing, that if principal told you something, right, gave you some confidential information which is required for agency or which is during the course of agency, then at same time you are bound not to disclose that confidential information to somebody else. Everything is based upon fiduciary. So come to the next duty, which is here, that is under your section 218 of your Indian Contract Act, which is duty to remit the sums. Duty to remit the sums. So agent is bound to pay to his principal all sums received on his account. Suppose you are dealing on my behalf, you are making a contract on my behalf, you are selling my property, and you get the sale proceed transferred in your account while formation of that contract. Then you are not supposed to keep that sale proceed with you. You are bound to remit that sale proceed into my account back. Right? This is his duty. And this duty is here the express duty. Read your provision of Indian Contract Act, section 218. Agent's duty to pay sums received for principal, subject to such deductions. Read this carefully and mark this phrase. Subject to such deductions, the agent is bound to pay to his principal all sums received on his account. Let me tell you, based upon the first phrase, agent is entitled to deduct his lawful charges. Means whatever he spent during for the formation of the contract, he is entitled to deduct those lawful charges. And further, when I will talk about the rights of the agent, there also I will make you learn that an agent can deduct his salary, his remuneration, or his consideration from the money which he got on account of the principal. So agent is entitled to deduct his lawful charges, but subject to this right, the principal money must be remitted to him even if it has been received or in pursuance of a void or illegal contract. Void or illegal contract. Please focus on that. So, I am the principal, I appointed you my agent, and you entered into contract with a third party on my behalf. And in actual, the contract framed by you is not a valid contract. There is some, issue relating to it, some missing, something which is not fulfilled, some essential requirement of contract is not fulfilled. There is lack of fulfillment of any essential requirement. Due to X, Y, Z reason, the contract which you framed as an agent on my behalf with third party is actually a void contract, is actually an illegal contract, right? Then even in that situation, irrespective of a fact, if you have taken some money from the third person on my behalf in regard of a void or illegal contract, even though in such cases you are bound to remit that money back into my account. You cannot keep the money with you which you got from the third party even if the contract is void or illegal. And definitely it will be subject to your deduction, lawfully deduction. Are you getting my point? I hope I have made you clear this concept of void and illegal contract. Is it clear? Is this clear? Hello?
Ma'am, can you repeat this void and illegal contract once again?
Okay, great. On the very first hand, I told you there is an express duty of an agent right, in a valid contract of agency. And what is that? That if agent got some money on behalf of the principal into his bank account, or he got in cash. Let us take example, right? First example, let me give you. I appointed you my agent for selling my house, right? And you entered the contract of sale with a person B, who is the third party, right? And you transferred my property in favor of the third party as my agent, and asked for the sale consideration. You got 10 lakh rupees, right, from the B, third party, in lieu of that transfer of the property in his favor. The section 218 is just making you clear one thing. The agent, it means you, are bound to immediately remit that 10 lakh rupees to the principal account. Whether the principal is having bank account or not, that is a practical, question. If he is having the bank account, then you will immediately remit the money into his bank account. If everything or entire deal is in cash, then you will give him the cash back. And at same time, 218 section is making you clear, the agent, it means you, is lawfully allowed to deduct any lawful charges of him. So for the selling my property, when you were forming the contract, you get it done through the court, stamp duty pay, contract formation pay, lawyer ko aapne paise diye, you spent from your side, or I agreed before I'm hiring you as my agent, I agreed to pay you 10,000 rupees as your remuneration or as your consideration for agency. So what is the section 218? That you are bound to give me 10 lakh rupees back immediately, but you are allowed to deduct your lawful charges. That means you can deduct 10,000 rupees from that 10 lakh rupees. This is allowed. This is your section 218. Further, the another extended interpretation of it is what? Now take the same example that I hired you as my agent, but this time this is not for the sale of my house. This time, this is not for the sale of my house. This is for an activity which is otherwise illegal, right? Which is otherwise not a valid contract, right? और आपने वो contract complete कर दिया with third party, and you got the consideration for that also, means for principal, which is actually to be transferred to the principal. So in number of the cases, the Supreme Court and other courts have made it clear that it is totally irrelevant. It is totally irrelevant the contract made by agent on your behalf with third party. What is the nature of the contract? Whether it is valid or whether it is invalid or whether it is illegal. As an agent, your duty will always be there to transfer the consideration immediately to the principal after having reasonable deduction for which you are lawfully entitled. I hope I have answered you, or I hope I have made you the concept clear now. Is it clear, or there is need to repeat again? Clear? Okay, so let me tell you that the agent has a right to make a counter claim. If somewhere the principal has taken the entire consideration, then if he is not following section 218, then the agent is also having a right to make a counter claim. And this is not something which is just an implied interpretation. It has been upheld by Bombay High Court in one of the judgment. And please write down the citation of the judgment. First of all, I am dictating you, then I will write in your chat box. National Shipping Company of Saudi Arabia. National Shipping Company of Saudi Arabia versus Centrals Industry Limited. Now I am writing in chat box. National Shipping Company of Saudi Arabia versus Entrance Industry Limited. This is case of 2004, Bombay High Court. So, what is the purpose to highlight you this citation? In one single section, you can find the duty plus right of an agent. So, duty is to remit the amount immediately to the principal, and right is to deduct the lawful, to have the lawful deductions. So if somewhere the principal is not allowing him to deduct, then agent can have counterclaim with help of this section 218. So thereafter, let us move to your next duty, that is duty to maintain accounts. Duty to maintain accounts, and that is under your section 213. Section 213, agent's account. An agent is bound to render proper accounts to his principal on his demand. So, an agent is bound to render proper accounts to his principal on demand. So principal may ask for account anytime. Because of that reason, this is the duty of the agent to maintain or to keep the account every time of every activity, every transaction. Now, let me tell you, accounts are necessary for the proper performance of agent's other duty. For example, duty to remit sum to the principal. So, it has been laid down that the agent is bound to give the accounts to principal whenever he is asking for that. And let me tell you, this is a provision which is making the agent liable, but at same time, if there is a question whether the agent can ask for account or not, then answer is no. So there is no provision in the Act enabling an agent to institute a suit for accounts against the principal. There is no provision in this Act enabling an agent to institute a suit for accounts against his principal. So this is the duty of the agent. Similarly, the principal is here entitled to have the inspection of the agent's account, and agent cannot deny for that. Now thereafter, we are moving towards the second last most important duty. Yes, is there any question?
Ma'am, I have a question. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Section 218 में बोला agent's duty to deduct his remuneration from the amount.
No, not duty. It is not duty, Dinesh. Please correct. It is right. It is right.
To deduct his amount, his remuneration before transferring it to the principal.
Yes.
But section 220 says that agent is not entitled to remuneration for business misconduct.
Where he has done misconduct.
So what if he has got the consideration and he deducts his remuneration and then transfers it to the principal, but there is a misconduct in there, then what happens in that?
And don't forget the rest of the duties. We are not only talking about one duty. Duty not to make the secret profit, duty to avoid the conflict of the interest, and above all, duty to execute the mandate of the principal. Do you know whatever duty or whatever rights we are talking about, agent and the principal, and there can be something agreed contrary in the contract itself by mutual consent between the principal and the agent. उसको exclude भी कर सकते हैं, right? While ये ड्यूटी हो गई 2018 में, सॉरी 218 में हमने एक राइट दे दिया किसको, एजेंट को, यू मे डिडक्ट. लेकिन जब मैं आपको अपॉइंट कर रही हूँ बाय म्यूचुअल कंसेंट, वी कैन अग्री समथिंग कंट्रेरी.
ओके
राइट. मैं आपको रोक भी सकती हूँ कि यू कैन नॉट डिडक्ट योर सेल्फ, यू प्लीज इन्फॉर्म मी फर्स्ट, देन आई विल पे यू द रेम्युनरेशन.
ओके थैंक यू.
राइट.
थैंक यू.
So, let's move towards the eighth very, very important duty, which is the base of the further coming sections of the contract, and another new concept relating to the agency. Duty not to delegate. Duty not to delegate. This is section 190 based upon, actually it is based upon section 190. Okay, answer me one question before dealing with this duty. If suppose I appointed you as my agent, right, for doing an act, can you further appoint any sub-agent? Can you further appoint any sub-agent? Any one of you? Hari has answered in chat box. Yes. Okay. And let me further ask you one more question. Contract of agency is actually a contract between whom? This may sound very silly to you, but here it is required to mention and to ask you that contract of agency is between whom? Principal and agent. Contract of agency is between whom? Principal and agent, right? They are parties to contract. There is privity to contract between them, right? And I hope everybody do understand what is privity of contract. At same time, I want to mention you section 37 of your Indian Contract Act, for which I talked about earlier also. Section 37 of your Indian Contract is talking about performance of the contract. Now, in a contract of agency, who are the parties to contract? Principal and agent. Let us talk about only the contract of agency. Principal and agent. And according to your section 37 of your Indian Contract Act, parties to contract are bound to perform their part promises. Means if I appointed you as my agent for doing an act, you are bound to do that act. And similarly, if I have agreed to pay any remuneration as a principal, I am bound to pay that consideration. So this is what all about your contract of agency, and it is in regard or in context of the performance. Now, this contract of agency is the base based upon which we are discussing the duties. This contract of agency is the base which we will discuss for the rights of the agent and the principal as well. This contract of agency will give certain rights to principal. This contract of agency will give certain rights to the agent. This is all about the impact of a contract. Now let me tell you, okay, before that, I will not tell you the provision, you answer me. When we will say that a contract is performed? When a party will be discharged from his part promise. Answer me. As per your Indian Contract Act, which you did in your first year, you must have done your performance of contract chapter, right? There you must have done that, what are the ways of the parties to get discharged from their contract. And I'm telling you, I'm making it easy. The very first way of the discharge of contract is performance of the contract. Second, if you remember, where the performance becomes impossible, means frustration of the contract, right? Third is what? Where there is any novation of the contract, means there is any change in the contract by modification, by some addition with mutual consent under section 62. And let me tell you the provisions as well. Section 37, which is a way by which a party to contract will get discharged from his obligation as well as from the discharge from the contractor as well. That is what? Performance of the contract, for which the parties agreed, they actually performed it. Second, your discharge of contract through frustration of the contract, that is your section 56. That is another way. We are not concerned about it for time being. Third is your novation of contract, means you did some changes, alteration, modification under section 62 of your Indian Contract Act. That is another way to get discharge of the contract. Now forget about rest of two ways, just focus on the performance of the contract. And answer me for one simple question only, that when you will say that a party has done performance of the contract and he is not any more liable for the contract, or if there is any breach, he will not be liable. Just answer me. How there can be performance of the contract, discharge of contract? Any one of you, please try. Please try. If you know it, then say yes. If you don't know, then I will discuss with you. Don't worry. I will tell you. Answer me. Do you know that how there can be performance discharge of a contract by performance? Anyone?
Ma'am, when both the parties fulfill their mutually agreed obligations that they created through the contract.
Right. वो तो section हो गया 37. Is there any other way? When a party will offer to perform his part promise. Don't forget your section 38. Right? Suppose, let me give you one example. I agreed with you, I entered into contract with you that on 30th September, I will supply you 100 cotton bales. Right? And you agreed that you will pay me 10,000 rupees for that. Now, on 30th September, I came to you and I offered you to deliver those cotton bales. But you denied. अब यहाँ पे breach of contract तो है. Right? Breach of contract है. But whether I will be liable? Answer is no, because I am discharged from my duty by making a valid offer to perform my contract. That is another way. Any party who will make a valid offer to perform his part promise, but it is denied by other party, then the party who made offer to perform his part promise will discharge from his duty. Right? Will discharge from his duty and he will never be liable for the breach of contract. Now let me make it more precise and directly connect it to your agency. Answer me, then I am talking about the moment a party to contract will make a valid offer to perform his part promise. Who can make that offer of the performance? Answer me, according to your Indian Contract Act, who can make the offer to perform part promise? Then let me tell you, first of all, this is the party himself. Right? This is the party himself. But don't forget your section 40. Please, you can see your section 40 in your Indian Contract Act. And the sections coming under your heading that who may perform the contract. And it is starting by whom the contract must be performed, starting from your section 40 onwards. Right? It is giving you from your section 40 to section 45 that who can make offer of the performance. So if you will read your section 40, you will find that the party himself or any other person on behalf of the party can make the offer to perform. तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि in contract, suppose actually the contract is between you and me, but I can appoint somebody else to perform my contract if it is not prohibited by the contract. Suppose, अब इसमें दो केस होंगे. There can be two possible situations. I know it may appear to you little bit complicated, but trust me, I will make you clear one very important aspect of the contract. Suppose, if I will take an example, I am having a contract with Delhi University to teach here, right? And teaching involves my personal learning, my personal skill. So I cannot appoint somebody else to perform on my behalf because contract requires my personal performance. But in case the contract is of such nature which can be performed by the party himself or any other person on behalf of the party, then it is allowed. It is allowed. For that I will refer you from your section 40 to 45. Suppose if somewhere I am selling the house, I am transferring the any goods to you, goods can be transferred by me, same goods. आपको मेरी ड्यूटी क्या है? आपको सेम गुड्स डिलीवर करना, for which I agreed. अब वो मैं खुद करती हूँ या किसी और से करवाती हूँ, that is none of your concern. Right? we agreed for supply of one particular certain commodity. Up, this is up to me whether I am going to deliver, whether I am going to supply it myself, or I am going to get it supplied through third person. It is allowed. First thing, it will not be allowed where there will be involvement of personal skill. Second, where it cannot be allowed for a party to hire somebody to perform on his behalf, where it is strictly prohibited into the contract. In absence of anything agreed contrary to it, any party to contract can appoint someone for performing on his behalf. I hope I am able to make you this point clear. Please answer me first of all. It is clear. Only then I will connect it to agency. Is it clear? Everybody? Clear now? Manisha is saying yes. Okay. Now let us talk strictly about contract of agency. अब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ एजेंसी भी क्या है? कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है प्रिंसिपल और एजेंट में. अगर आप सेक्शन 37, 38 और सेक्शन 40 ऑनवर्ड्स कनेक्ट करके देखते हो तो एजेंट कैन ऑल्सो अपॉइंट सब एजेंट. डू यू अग्री? आंसर इज यस. आंसर इज यस, बिकॉज contract of agency is also contract, and when a party to contract otherwise is entitled to have the agent, similarly an agent can have sub agent. So in your Indian Contract Act, from your section 19 onwards, there are provision for the sub agent, and sub agent will be appointed by who? Will be appointed by agent. I hope I am able to connect it to agency, that why an agent is allowed to appoint sub agent. But let me tell you one thing. Where in the contract of agency, principal has incorporated a condition that you cannot appoint sub-agent, or this is something to be performed by you personally, then in such situation, agent cannot have sub-agent, but otherwise, agent is also, as per your section 40, as per your section 190, authorized to have sub-agent. Is this concept clear? Please reply. Is this concept clear? To everyone, anybody please turn on your mic and tell me clear now. Dinesh, Tanvi, clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Neha,
Yes, ma'am.
Krishika. Okay. So in your next class, we will complete the duties as well as duties and the rights of an agent.